everyone! Today we will be making a little something for me to wear to see the last episode of the Amazing Digital Circus in theaters. If you're unfamiliar with the show, it is an indie animation series. You can watch it all completely for free on YouTube if you would like, and it's where a cast of characters get stuck in this digital world, and each episode more traumatizing than the last as they try and escape. I am not a full cosplay to theaters kind of person. I do not have the energy or the willpower to get into a full costume and then sit in a dark room for an hour or two. However, I do like to wear a little themed outfit if I can. This is what I wore to see Wicked, just a little kind of pink themed outfit with a crown. You see what I'm saying? Very subtle. So this is the concept art that I drew up for today. It's giving the Amazing Digital Picnic, the Amazing Digital Summer Vacation where nothing bad ever happens to the characters, themed after Pomni, our favorite traumatized clown. So I am on a bit of a time crunch to finish this in time for the theater showing. And when you're on a bit of a time crunch with cosplay, I find that it helps to start with something that already exists and build onto it. So we will be starting with this dress. This dress is going to be worn underneath. So I am going to make the red-yellow split layer dress and just layer that on top of this. And when you have layers, you want to start with the innermost layer and then build out, so that we're going to be starting with this dress, and there is one modification I would like to make. This dress is quite short. I would like it to ideally be about as long as it is in the concept art, kind of go up to the knees if I can. To lengthen our dress, I need to add fabric. The closest fabric I had in my stash was this kind of dandelion yellow cotton fabric. This is leftovers from my egg wheels. I use this for the yolks. And I don't have a lot of fabric to work with, but the plan here is to just get as much fabric as I can out of this and put it into a continuous strip. And then I'm going to actually do a French seam. So that is where you have some ugly seam you want to hide. Take the fabric on either side of that seam and you just kind of swallow up that gross seam, right? You just kind of tuck it in and fold the fabric over it. Sew your little ugly seam taco shut. So I'm going to do that to all of the little seams that I pieced together. On the bottom hem, I'm going to do a double hem where I fold it twice, so again, you cannot see the serging. So now we have this. Unfortunately, I am making this up as I go. So I think maybe ruffle this up, attach it to the bottom of the ruffle here. It adds 2 inches to the bottom and we still get to keep the ruffle. Last minute, I decided I actually wanted to go with pleats instead. This long band of fabric I made to attach to the bottom of the dress is roughly twice as long as the seam I will be sewing it to. And that just makes for really simple pleat math. What this means is that for every inch of fabric that is not in a pleat, I need an inch of fabric that is in a pleat, effectively reducing the length to half. I decided that I would just put the ruffle underneath and then top stitch over it. Here's our base dress for Miss Pomni. I think it's really cute by itself. Now we can make the blue-red split dress that I am going to wear over this. So first, there's something really important I need to show you guys. Look, what came in the mail! It's a sad clown! You know how when you're looking at a picture or a toy and it's smiling, you kind of instinctively smile back without even thinking about it? When I look at this Pomni, I just go ah. Since I want this layer to align perfectly over the yellow dress, it makes the most sense for me to take my pattern from the yellow dress. And for these outside seams, it's really easy to just trace them. For the interior seams though, like the armhole and the neck hole, that's a bit harder. I saw this tutorial when I was judging the cosplay tutorial challenge last year, and I think it would be perfect. This tutorial is from Sarah McCostumes on Instagram, and I will link it in the description as well. But essentially for these interior seams, you're going to take pins and you're going to pin through the seam and then through the pattern paper below. And then when you remove all the pins and remove the dress, we still have all the holes, the pin left, and we can just connect the dots. This worked super, super well. The only other change I want to make to this pattern is I want a button closure in the front. So that means I'm going to add about 2 inches to just the front pattern pieces so that I can have some overlap for our buttons. Okay, so I'm coming into the craft room to do some sewing. The baby is here. Look how I left my crafting desk. I was filming a doll video yesterday. I am going to clean up that mess and then we can get back to sewing the dress, and Kitty can join us. The red fabric I'm using is this really nice, some sort of poly blend of satin. And then the blue is this beautiful silk blend. These fabrics are way too nice to be used for a Disney bound of a clown that I'm gonna wear to a movie theater. But they're in my fabric stash, and that means they're free. And even though these fabrics are very nice, it still is cheaper for me to use them here than buy less nice fabrics for Pomni. And then I can sew up the shoulder seams and the side seams and our back seam, and we have a dress. The lining layer, that, the outside layer on top. This is one of those outfits that looks really different standing up versus sitting down. Look at this silhouette. It is so fun. And like the looser fit and how it like hangs in this shape. Once again, sad that I cannot stand long enough to do anything significant like a photo shoot because it looks really cool standing. So what's left? I am going to attach the outside layer and the lining layer together. I am going to hem the bottom, hem the neckline, hem the armholes. I picked out a whole lot of like kind of fun novelty buttons to look at. I have like swirls that kind of remind me of like abstracting eyes. I have some buttons with like this wood grain design which remind me of Kinger. I have 5 crayons. The thing with the crayons is I feel like I'm walking the really fine line between clown having an existential crisis and elementary school art teacher. I have some butterflies. I really like this one. It's in Pomni's colors. A dog, a fish, kind of reminded me of some other characters. See? It's a Persephone button. The problem I'm running into is to get this whole length with buttons, I need at least 7. And I don't have 7 of any of these. The safe option is I do have 7 of these gold buttons. I put up an Instagram story post asking what buttons I should go with. The alternating crayons won. However, I am questioning how functional a crayon is at being a button. I had to do quite a few test runs to figure out what buttonhole size would work for these crayons. And I got to thinking if I'd like to maybe embellish some other parts as well. Maybe some more novelty buttons sewn onto the collar. Should I put anything on the sleeves? We have finally reached the tedious hand sewing part of our project and our story time segment. Sew on all of our buttons. I picked out a butterfly and a star to go onto the collar. And then with the tiny bits I had left of that like dandelion cotton, I made 2 little bows to go on the sleeves. And the story I want to tell you guys is only very tangentially related to this Pomni build, but stay with me, okay? So when you cosplay from something that you don't own, so anything other than your own original characters that you created, which I'd say for most of us is pretty much all our cosplays, you do not control how that character is going to be treated in its source media, right? What do I mean? You could spend a lot of money and effort cosplaying a character, and then later in that story, that character could be killed off. They could be a twist villain. Maybe that character you loved and cosplayed did something that was kind of unforgivable in the context of their story, and you know, it's different from cosplayer to cosplayer. Sometimes that can really affect how much you want to cosplay a certain character. I feel like the risk of this happening especially holds true for movie theater cosplays. You're putting something together and you do not know what's going to happen to that character until after you see the movie. And as I work on this Pomni cosplay, I wonder, when we leave the theaters from seeing episode 9, are we all still gonna like Pomni? I think so, right? She's the main character, but I don't know. So I cosplay Queen Bee, or Chloe, from the show Miraculous Ladybug. She is basically the rich, privileged, mean girl bully trope. Around season like 2 or 3 of Miraculous, when those were releasing, it looked like she was going to be redeemed. She got to be part of the superhero team. We kind of explored why she was the way she was. So I actually designed my own Queen Bee cosplay. It is a little bit different from the canon one. And not only did I sew this cosplay once, I sewed it twice. And on top of that, I commissioned a wig. So my Queen Bee wig is made by the incredibly talented AOK Cosplay. It has been over 5 years. What happened to Chloe? She did things that for a kids show are just kind of irredeemable. Like, she's very much the bad guy. They ended up giving Chloe's superhero powers to someone else. Then they ended up just writing her out of the story entirely. I actually did pull out my Queen Bee cosplay pretty recently, a few weeks ago, because I had some ideas for some short videos I thought would be really funny. And I feel like that even just like solidified it more for me, that I don't see myself cosplaying Chloe anymore. You know? Like, she's just been so thoroughly ruined in the fandom for me, in the source material, that it affects how I cosplay her. I would be super duper fascinated to hear any of your guys' stories on this topic. Has there ever been a character you cosplayed and then something happened with that character in their source media and it changed the way you felt about cosplaying them, and now you maybe don't want to cosplay them anymore? Or maybe you do. That would also be really interesting to hear. So yeah, that's just what I've been thinking about as I have been working on Pomni these last few weeks, is like, is this a character I really think I'll cosplay after I see the show? I do have just a few other accessories for this cosplay that I'd like to show you guys. I'm not sure which of these I'm going to go with yet, but I have my yellow combat boots from my Batgirl cosplay, my red combat boots from my Supergirl cosplay. I think either of these will work. I just didn't want to buy new shoes for Pomni. I'm trying to keep the cost pretty low on this one and keep it all just very casual. I did actually purchase a wig though. This is from Arta Wigs. This is a Kimberly Classic in the color Deep Brown. I don't think it's gonna look like exactly like Pomni's hair, but I just wanted something that was like closer than my blonde hair to work with. So I might do some really light styling on this wig, like fluff up the bangs a little. I have this custom ribbon headband that I've actually been wearing throughout most of the video. This is from Clover and Orchid over on Etsy. It was like custom, like choosing the colors on the headband. So I actually did have to message the artist to get that all like squared away, like what colors I wanted and in what order. I'm never sure how much to share. I feel like a lot of, especially small businesses, have just been so thoroughly traumatized by influencers that it might do more harm than good to tell them I'm working on a YouTube video. And I actually did make the move to like send over my concept art and mention what I was working on. And I just want to say, absolutely delightful. The person running the shop is such a gem, so wonderful to talk to. Was very excited to see my concept art and to see what I was like going to be using this headband for. So that is all I got for little accessories and such, and you know what that means! It is time for the final reveal of my casual Pomni cosplay. Final thoughts on Pomni. I think this does the job. I think this works for something to wear to theater. It's pretty comfortable, it's pretty cute, but I do have a few nitpicks on this project. So I've been on a fabric no-buy for an entire year now. Everything you've seen me make on this channel in the last year has either been from fabric in my stash or upcycling existing clothing. This project suffered a bit from all the material restrictions. I feel like the yellow was just not quite the right shade for lengthening the dress, and the split layer on top, these fabrics are meant for like evening gowns. So they just don't have quite the right like texture and shine that I was going for, especially against like this cotton dress underneath it. I have ended up with something that's a bit too costumey for me to put in my casual wear closet and wear to the grocery store, but is also not quite costumey enough for me to feel like I could take it to a con. I have not seen the movie in theaters by the time I'm recording this, so I'm hoping that will help me decide what direction I want to take with this, if I want to remove pieces and have it be a casual wear thing, or add pieces and have this be something I could wear to a con. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye! She's doing crunches. Pomni! Pomni! Didn't quite survive the wheelie.